Hello friends, my name is Shayla and today I'm here to have a book discussion with you. So I wanted to open up this discussion about expectations when walking into books. Recently I've read a couple books that have ended up disappointing me, and so I wanted to talk about why they disappointed me and why I think we need to talk about expectations when going into a book. So to start this off, this was inspired by two books that I've read recently. One is Beast, A Tale of Love and Revenge, which I've done a full review on by the time you guys see this, so definitely go and check that out. Secondly is Legacy of Kings by Eleanor Herman. Again, you guys have heard me talk about this in a vlog, and I will leave that linked for you as well. But I walked into both of these books with certain expectations. They're both retellings, actually. One is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, obviously, and the other is an Alexander the Great retelling, reimagining story. So I walked into both of these with certain expectations of what to expect from the story, and I was given something different than what I was expecting. You guys have heard all my grumbling about Beast and the fact that they depict the Beast as a rapist, and I take huge issue with that, with it being one of my favorite fairy tales of all time. And when it comes to Legacy of Kings, I expected Alexander the Great retelling to have a lot of action, have a lot of character build, all this kind of stuff, and it was sandwiched in between more teen angst than I ever would have imagined from an Alexander the Great retelling. After getting into Legacy of Kings, I flipped it over onto the back to look at the publisher, and I found out the publisher was Harlequin Teen. Now, if I had gone into the book knowing that Harlequin Teen was the publisher, that was my bad for not paying attention to that. But if I had known going in that it was going to be laced with a bunch of romance, I probably would have enjoyed the book much more. It's just one of those things when you walk into kind of a gritty retelling, like something that Alexander the Great would most likely be, and you're thrown nothing but teen angst and romance, it really threw me off. It threw me out of the story. It kept pulling me out of the story, and I was really struggling with it. I buddy read this book with Connor over at Connor O'Brien. If you have not checked out his channel, definitely do. He's one of my favorites. And he felt exactly the same way as this. We buddy read this, and so as we were talking on Voxer back and forth, we ended up parroting each other at every point. Like, we felt exactly the same about this book. And it's one of those, if we had gone in with the expectations that it was going to be romance, one, Connor probably wouldn't have picked it up. And me, I would have been at least prepared and braced for it, so that when I ran into those parts, it's like, oh, they're trying too hard. And it would have been a totally different experience for me, but it totally ruined my reading experience. So I think we, as readers, need to go in much more open-minded to things like retellings. But secondly, I think publishers need to back off from calling everything a retelling, because I feel like everything's being pitched as a retelling. Another book that this happened with me this year was Heart of Iron by Ashley Poston. This was pitched to me as an Anastasia retelling in space, which sounds amazing, but that's not what I got. What I got was an exploration between AI becoming sentient, and then there's also a side story that focuses on a homosexual relationship. So my expectations of the book were completely different than what I was given. There were elements of Anastasia in there, just as there were elements in all of the retellings that I'm talking about of their original source content. But when it comes down to it, we're not really getting retellings. Beast is probably the closest one to an actual retelling out of the three that I'm mentioning. So honestly, if they had pitched Heart of Iron as, you know, a Russian-inspired space opera, I would have been all about it. But when you call it an Anastasia retelling, I have expectations. And I didn't get those, my expectations weren't met at all. Like I said, there were little glimmers of the story, but the majority of the story was not an Anastasia retelling and story. And that disappointed me very much. And I still liked the book for what it was, but it was not what I was pitched. And maybe that's the fault of us as reviewers and us as booktubers for summing up things as, you know, this is this kind of retelling, or this is a story inspired by this. Like, we all kind of do that a little bit. And I feel like we're getting lots of retellings right now. Like, there's Brightly Burning by Alexa Dunn. That's a Jane Eyre in space retelling. I haven't read it, so I can't speak on that. But I do know that a lot of things are being pitched as retellings that aren't true retellings. And that's very bothersome to me. Like, you can say it's inspired by that story, but don't call it a retelling. And maybe that's just an expectation of mine. And that's why I wanted to talk about this. Am I the only one who feels this way? Am I the only one who thinks we're getting pitched books that aren't what we're actually getting? Or am I the only one who knows all the source material and I'm going in with bad expectations? I know when it comes to Legacy of Kings, my expectations were pretty much what Connor's were, and that, you know, when it comes to the retelling, the source content, we ended up seeing parts of that. But it's one of those things where I feel like we need to be cautious as we explain stories. Because, like, I'm sick of being disappointed by a pitch. I think that's essentially what it's coming down to. If you're going to pitch something to me as a Beauty and the Beast retelling, I expect it to have certain elements. I expect it to have, you know, a beastly, monstrous type creature. I expect it to have a Belle type character, and I expect that there's going to be a slow burn relationship / friendship in that retelling. I don't expect my Beast to truly be a monster at his heart. That's part of what makes him so good and part of what makes you root for the Beast and root for him to break his curse. When it comes down to it, like, that's all I was expecting out of Beast: A Tale of Love and Revenge, and that's not what I got. Not what I got at all. You know, you could say it's a Beauty and the Beast inspired story, but don't call it a retelling. It's not a retelling. It's its own story, and I don't like it. But anyways, guys, this is a bit rambly, but I really just wonder if I'm the only one who's struggling with this, or if you guys are struggling with it too. Let me know in the comments down below if you agree with me or if you think I'm crazy. I can handle all the comments. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you're new here, I'm Shay. Thanks for checking it out. I would love for you to subscribe and hang out with me. Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts, and I will see you guys in the next one.